Hello everybody, welcome to Catlike Reflexes.
Catlike Reflexes.
Yeah. Hello everybody, my name is Bryan Piitz. I am your host, along with Drew Parent,
Yo.
DH, Derpy Hooves over here, Derek Howard, Brendan Main, and Nahanni Bourne. See, I went the other way again.
Yeah, there you are.
Just mixing it up a little. And you're not in the middle because there's four people.
Yeah, and now I'm bookended.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crunching going on.
There's a lot of crunching going on in this episode. This is the second one we've done in our session, and so everybody's having a snack. And we have really crunchy, like, vegetables and corn chips and all
Carrots
kinds
and
of stuff.
celery. Great.
Today's episode... actually, the PodCats have been anticipating this episode for a while. This one's been long in the coming. Return of the Jedi. The third film in the Star Wars franchise, or Episode 6, as some people call it. If you watch the original trilogy, or the only trilogy, as some will say, Return of the Jedi, really, like, the first two movies just set it up. Return of the Jedi knocks it down. For a long time, it was the most recent until, the prequels came out, and it was the one that everybody had on, the outgoing Star Wars. And in that time, between, I guess it was 1983 it came out,
yep,
and now, different opinions have come out about Return of the Jedi, because it is a movie that most people have seen. The only people who haven't seen it don't matter. And, and also, Return of the Jedi, as a cultural artifact, its perception in people's minds has changed, which we're going to talk about a little bit now. And people's thoughts on whether it is good or not have changed. And I'm going to start us off with Nahanni, because Nahanni has just recently, like in the last week or so, has had a revelation about Return of the Jedi, and to start us off today, I want Nahanni to tell us all about it, because this is pretty special.
Okay, I better bring my A game then. So I was watching the 3. Every now and then I bust out the 3 and I spend the day doing something watching all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I never was a big fan of Return of the Jedi. It wasn't my favorite. For me it was always Empire. And then it hit me why I don't like that movie. It's those goddamn Muppets. It's those goddamn... I think Lucas needs a do-over. I don't think it should count, and I think I'm going to finish with Empire and just not watch the 3rd anymore when I pick those days out.
Oh, yeah.
So what is Star Trek? So what is Star Trek ending at Empire like? Like
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Right. Star Wars.
Come on, get out right now!
The door's over there!
That's right. I thought we were talking about Battlestar Galactica. So if Star Wars ends at Empire, like, they just lose then. Like that's the Star Wars.
I'm a dark person. I can live with that.
So Han gets frozen carbonite.
Taken away by Boba Fett.
Luke gets his arm cut off. He just has to go home, become a moisture farmer again.
Luke discovers Vader's his father.
Or is he? Dum, dum,
Dum,
dum.
dum. But anyway, I was sitting there, I was watching it, and it's the scene where, where they're at Jabba's lair,
Mm-hmm.
and now I was watching the Blu-ray remastered at this point, just to put this out there.
With the new special effects and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that have the new musical number? And Jabba's
Yeah.
thought, that's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But even all the other Muppet shit, that needs to go.
Like the original Muppets.
Yeah, because through Star Wars and Empire, like if you were sitting there in the theater and it's like, that's awesome shit when you're a kid. But if you turned and like Chewbacca was sitting next to you,
Yeah.
you could believe he was real because he looked organic. Okay? Return of the Jedi was just a craft department orgy with the glue guns and the fur and scraps from the Salvation Army.
The sequins.
The
and
sequence,
the
it needed to
macaroni.
go. It needs to go. I won't be watching it anymore. It just really... Oh.
That takes you out of it?
It just takes me completely out of it. It's not valid for me anymore. And
Well,
the only reason Lucas did that
Mm-hmm.
is because Jim Henson was like the it man at the time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, the Muppets are doing well. Let's mix that with Return of the Jedi.
Sure.
I
mean, Yoda is a Muppet. He's even performed by Frank
They
Oz.
could have even done a better... Yoda's okay.
Yeah. His mouth doesn't really articulate
He
that
doesn't
much.
move much in the 3rd movie, though.
That's true. He just kind of like...
He lies there and he dies. And
Right.
then he's gone.
That's true.
Into the ether.
Like,
Well, what about the rest
even those rats that sit next to Jabba, like, what's that about? They've got googly eyes and eyelashes. I mean,
You're right.
you would
Well,
never
your
see
best.
that on the Millennium Falcon running around. I mean, it
Well,
was
yeah,
cute
you-
and
you saw that
lovable.
in the second
You would
movie.
buy that for your child because it's cute and lovable.
Like Gizmo. from
yeah, it was like
Gremlins.
Gizmos from the Gremlins.
I've also never seen Gremlins. Anyway,
Not that good. Not that
no,
good.
I know. So
Do
what did
over.
you? But what did you? How did you feel about Return of the Jedi before you had this epiphany? Did you like it?
You know what? And I've
Is
always
it just the first third of the movie where they're at Jabba's
no,
palace?
it's the Ewoks too.
Oh, you don't like the Ewoks?
No, I don't like the Ewoks either. You know, and it wasn't just because I watched the remastered, because I always thought I never really liked Return of the Jedi as much as I liked the first two.
Right.
And finally I'm like, that's why I didn't like it, because it wasn't organic, like any of the other creatures.
Leia,
organic. Or Leia was super organic.
Well,
Not even gonna pity laugh, okay? No pity.
you're
laugh.
looking for love in Alderaan places.
That's pretty good, actually. Alderaan places.
I'll give you that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't make that up.
That
Yeah.
joke blew up.
I actually got that
Yeah.
joke in an email from my father, so that tells you it's a dad joke.
But enough about us. Nahanni, what
Yes,
about the
Nahanni.
big blue guy in the band?
The big blue guy.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a big marshmallow.
First off, that's racist. Like, I just don't see
Yeah.
color.
What if he was part of the
Why
Blue
can't you
Man
just
group?
call him the keyboard player?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
if he was part of the Blue Man group prior to that?
It's still put together with foam. That doesn't exist in nature. Like, that's the whole thing. Like,
Maybe
one
there's a
and two-
foam planet. In
You
Star
could
Wars.
imagine
Yeah.
living in those worlds. You can't imagine standing next to
Come
the
on,
craft supplies.
E.T. They put E.T. in the Star Wars universe.
Spoilers, E.T. What about the Rancor? The Rancor pit. Like what?
Nahani's just shaking her head here. She's not
No.
having it.
No,
She's not having Return of the Jedi.
No,
anymore.
it is going to end.
The guy who sat next to Lando in the finale with the Falcon.
What was that guy's name? Kit Fisto?
Yes.
Kid
As a matter of fact, the actor who played him just died like a week ago.
What?
Ooh, moment
Yeah.
of silence.
I don't know, I saw it on Reddit or something.
Oh well. Still
Nobody
Muppet
knows what
stuff.
he looks like or anything.
Muppet stuff. I think Lucas needs a do-over.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Because he was totally
if you
pulling
give
a
him
Gene
enough
Simmons
time,
on
he
that.
will.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of did do a do-over in a sense, doing the special editions, and you don't think it made an improvement.
No.
No, and I think that's probably true.
No. He had a chance to make it right, and he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he owes us.
Midichlorian.
He's done several, though. I mean, I think the thing with puppetry, and I think that I haven't seen it on Blu-ray, and I think that, I mean, I haven't rewatched Ninja Turtles, the live-action Ninja Turtles
Right.
movie, but apparently you can just see the faces through their mouths in every scene.
You're talking the 90s?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah,
But once you see it in high definition.
yeah, that's right. And they're just there, and there's no hiding them. They're just
Yeah.
the faces just you open their mouths. It looks like they just swallowed kind of like an ugly guy, They're just peering out.
5 Nights at Leonardo.
That's
Yeah,
where,
that's right.
That's where Corey Feldman went.
It was swallowed by Donatello.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that changes things. I mean, watching puppetry in high definition, maybe it makes it look
Stupid.
less, yes, kind of more fake. It's possible that these things look worse in that fashion. But I think that like the prequels proved that puppetry is superior, and because I mean they were all CGI and they were terrible, right?
Mhm.
And when you actually see the CGI in the remastered Star Wars movies 4 to 6, it looks worse
Right.
somehow.
Yeah.
Like
It takes you out of it.
yeah,
It's-
the CGI Jabba looks worse than
way worse.
Puppet Jabba, and
I would have rather had the guy in the fur coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah. They needed to leave that alone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Sometimes I watched the Blu-ray of the Star Wars movies too, and I was picking up details in them that, I mean, I've seen those movies a billion times. I was picking out details I'd never seen before because it's that clear, and I could see that could have an impact, either positive or negative. Like you said, like the puppets, just it's not doing it. You know.
They're adorable. Like those two guys that that greet them at the door. That look like
Oh, those little pig guys?
Yeah, they look like warthogs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they're
glowing
adorable,
birds?
and they
Yes,
look so
that's
foam.
exactly what they are.
Waldler and Statler.
Yeah, that's them.
I have noticed a thing in people's reviews of Return of the Jedi over the years. I've talked to a couple of you about this before. I think when Return of the Jedi first came out, as a kid, I remember Return of the Jedi just sort of being universally liked. I mean, there was no internet then, so you didn't have the chat. Even that's pretty passé. But like, you didn't have these online reviews of all kinds of different opinions. But just sort of the consensus among people I knew was like, Return of the Jedi is awesome, and there's a cool lightsaber fight, and like everybody likes it, and it's really cool. And then I noticed that when Episode 1 came out, and people didn't like it, a lot of people didn't like it, the conversation usually went like this. I don't like Episode 1. Why not? Well, because Jar Jar is stupid and he's kind of like a cartoon. Well, in Return of the Jedi, there were Ewoks and they were kind of like a cartoon. Well, yeah, then, I don't like Return of the Jedi either. Yeah, Return of the Jedi is stupid. And it was like... And then sort of the consensus kind of turned that Return of the Jedi wasn't very good anymore, but it's the same movie. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? That's just my own personal theory, but like...
I haven't heard that because I was there when Episode 1 had its backlash, and I have heard nothing but good stuff about Jedi, except for right now.
I've encountered Jedi hate before.
Garbage.
Yeah.
I think that...
mostly Ewok hate, I think.
Yeah, and
This is the first time anyone's ever
Yeah.
mentioned Jabba's palace that I can think of.
Yeah.
That I've
Yeah, because I mean,
I'll give it that,
here's
yeah.
the thing about Star Wars, is that I think that out of the three, people often say that Jedi is the most different. But New Hope is the most different. New Hope is incredibly sparse. It's plotted differently. It has a first act. And the first act is he's just a schmuck on a moisture farm and he hates it and he's a terrible whiny kid. Like, whereas Empire and Jedi start with action pieces. They start with Hoth and then they return to Tatooine respectively. In some ways, is like you could just watch the first act of those movies. It just stands up, right? Like just Hoth stands up and just Jabba's palace stands up. Whereas there's a lot of like sort of wandering the wastes and soul searching in New Hope.
Right.
So I mean, as a kid, I always thought, "Oh, New Hope, what a slog! New Hope, nothing really happens." I mean, you hit the cantina for a little bit. The cantina is actually scary. The cantina is meant to be an ominous place. It's not
so
like
weird.
It's not like, wow, what a wonderful cantina.
Like the Lego games.
Yeah, it's not like a guy gets his arm cut off. And it bleeds, which is unusual in Star Wars. He gets his arm cut off and there's a spurt of blood. Sort of like, oh, the cantina is horrible. Maybe Tatooine is horrible. Let's get the fuck out of here. So I mean, there's a lot of trauma there. I think one of the reasons when you mention kids liking Jedi is that there's more payoff in Return of the Jedi than pretty much any movie, like any movie possibly. Like, because it's a trilogy that ends incredibly. It ends very simply. I don't want to say simplistically. I mean, the final act of Jedi is the most narratively ambitious act in all Star Wars, right? Because you have the three things going on.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Right? So like you have the
throne
so
room.
Nahanni, could you watch Jedi with just all like with all the Muppet shit taken out, where it's just like Luke in the throne room and also the assault on the Death Star? Is that good for you, or the fact that you know that Ewoks exist somewhere?
Okay. You know, I appreciate the resolution that Jedi gives you. I don't want to get down on the story or anything, because the story was completely fine and it resolved a lot of things for me and for a lot of people. I think, you know, just take that craft show out.
Just the Muppet stuff, yeah.
You know, like all it was missing was glitter, herpes of the craft world.
When Jedi came out in '83, I would have been 9. I saw it. That was the first Star Wars film I saw in the theater. And possibly one of the first Star Wars films I'd seen, because VHS was in its state. I didn't see Star Wars when it came out. I didn't see Empire. So when I showed up to the theater, I remember there was speeder bikes. I remember there was Ewoks. The whole thing was just an absolute gorgeous piece of cinema for this 9-year-old. I was blown away. That one Ewok died. I cried. I was in the theater just bawling my eyes out, crying. My mom had to hold me. It was just...
He comes back as a forest goes. Beside the other
one. Oh, now you want to talk about my gripe? It's definitely the ghosts and the...
Yes, talk more about that, because a lot of people have commented on the ending of Return of the Jedi, because there's so much and the special editions that have been altered.
Yeah, and it's just recanonizing the thing. Nah, I can't subscribe to that. Darth Anakin comes back out of his machine state for a very brief amount of time, says, I love you, son. And then they set fire to him, and that's it. And he shows up as a ghost, as all Jedis do, and that's great until they redid the beginning. At which point it's like, yeah, I murdered a whole bunch of kids.
Right.
So now it's like, yeah, that's you on fire there.
It actually kind of is unforgivable that he kills a bunch of kids at the end of 3, right?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. That he's like, I killed all the younglings. I just killed a whole bunch of little kids. I was like, you know what? That's what was it? 30 kids? You killed 30 kids? What? 30 shitty kids? Who cares about, like...
I mean, that should count as half an adult, so really it's like 15 adults.
And for that note, Luke killed how many on the Death Star? Let's ask Kevin Smith. How many did Luke kill on the Death Star? When he dies and he goes into a ghost, are they going to be like, well, you killed like a whole bunch of them there. You killed about 700 workers.
I don't think there's like Jedi hell, though. I think you just die and you just kind of come back.
As a ghost?
I don't know. I think, don't they mention somewhere in the prequels that like
these are the
Jedis
things,
have to learn how to do that?
This
like,
is the,
come back
these
as
are
a
the
ghost?
things that the harder you think about them, the worse they get.
Yeah, I guess you're
They
right.
just become terrible. So when you expand the universe, it just kind of becomes no bueno.
To me, my beef in the special edition, the newest special edition, they came out on the Blu. Every time they put out a new disc, it's like a new edition.
Yep.
And in the latest one, when there's the scene that at the end, spoiler if you haven't seen Return of the Jedi, the Emperor is zapping Luke with his lightning hands, and then there's in the original, Darth Vader just kind of looks at him. And looks at his son, and he's in agony, and he looks at him, and he picks him up, and he throws him down a fucking hole, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, in the current edition, it says...
That was a great scene, by the way.
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
I had like a lot of feeling for Darth at that
That is
moment.
that's the...
We're going to see it again, because your Star Wars ends at Empire.
Yeah.
Well, that really is the climax of the whole of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Shrek
is
and YouTube that scene.
Oh, yeah, that's all you need.
But what I don't like is now, he does the thing, he looks at them both, and he goes, no.
Yeah.
Why did he feel the need to include that? I don't
There was no
understand.
need for that.
I think when they started the special editions, his rationale was like, look, when we made this in the 70s, we didn't have all the effects, and I couldn't put in all the things I really wanted to, so now I'm going to put in some of the things I wanted. Does he mean to tell me that he couldn't get James Earl Jones to shout no in 1983? Like, clearly that came up later, and I don't know why. It doesn't add anything to it. In fact,
And not
it's
every idea
completely
you
distracting.
had in the past was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to be thankful that you didn't act on some of your ideas.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
Also, every one of his ideas is terrible, and you should just know that by now, that everything that he's ever tried to do has been changed to something good.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, oh, I wish Han Solo would have been a 9-foot-tall lizardman. Oh,
Right.
I wish he was a 9-foot... Why wasn't Han Solo 9 foot? It's like, you know what? Harrison Ford is good enough.
That's right.
It's however tall Harrison Ford is, and however lizardman Harrison Ford is. We're just going with that.
Drew, we haven't heard from you for a
My
little
beef
while.
is the same thing as Howie's there with
Yeah.
the ending where, the original ending was perfect. Leave it there with being old, Anakin Skywalker, not putting Hayden Christensen, crappy Anakin Skywalker there. What does that mean? When he got killed on Mustafar, that's when he ended being a Jedi and he started being the Sith.
Right.
Then how come...
Mustafar, I like that. So he got chopped up by Mustafar?
Yeah, the planet was actually called
called
Mustafar.
the lava
Mustafar,
planet,
yeah.
Nice, alright.
Yeah.
But like... when he...
Mustafar also killed the Lion King's dad.
Yeah.
It's
Trying
true.
to think of that. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, but no problem. But like when he kills himself, when he kills the Emperor on the Death Star, it kind of was it kind of showing that he was coming back to being a Jedi,
Right.
to the good side, and that's why he was able to.
Can you only come back as a ghost if you're good?
Yeah, pretty much. In going into the lore of it, was the Sith didn't come back like that. It was just the Jedi. So that kind of really irked me having, Hayden Christensen, crappy. Oh, Annie, Star Wars. There should have stayed being old man.
Two wrinkled old men and one wrinkled puppet.
Exactly.
And the one Ewok who died comes as a first.
No one. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm
Why-
so glad.
Why
I'm a
wasn't the ghost of Yoda just someone's hand?
They just
Like,
cut off Frank
just-
Oz's hand.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they don't have the skeletons of the other stuff.
But that was my whole big beef there. Otherwise, I liked it.
One of my beefs at the end in that particular scene is when they changed the music. Because
Yeah.
There used to be the Yub Yub
Yeah.
song. It was like Yub Yub don't go.
Yeah.
I don't know the words
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
nonsense. And then now it's this sort of like pan flute kind of
Yeah, that's right.
pussy thing. And
Well, and the other thing, them showing the fireworks and
Yeah.
they go to like
all the different planets now.
Coruscant where they see them all. People
Everyone's like,
rebelling about.
I hope people are happy about this in Naboo.
Yeah.
What's going on in Naboo
Yeah.
right now?
Can you still buy the unmastered?
No, but
Because
I've
the
heard,
only reason I have the remasters is because I wore out the other ones.
Yeah.
there is a rumor that now that Disney owns it, they're going to release an altered version. But
Yeah,
I mean,
trust
that's
them out.
just a rumor, right?
There are some fan initiatives that have been coming around that you can acquire online. And let's face it, we've all paid for the original VHS. We've all paid for the original DVD,
Yeah.
the Blu-ray. We've paid so much in merchandise years and years and years over. I have no problem with announcing, yes, I've pirated this fan copy because I've bought it so many fucking times. And I love it. I think it's called the Reconstructions Project or something.
Yeah.
And what they do is they took the video from the Laserdisc copies.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah, so it's primo quality for that era. It's the video from the Laserdisc
Sweet.
things. They've added in the audio from a remaster somewhere, and they've eliminated all of the special effects of recent years, only keeping the best quality out there. I cannot remember what it's called. It's like the Reconstructions Project.
Yeah, I heard
If
that
you-
too. They know sort of which
Yes.
scenes and which versions are most closely.
And if you were
to
to
the
look up
original.
online somehow, Star Wars fan, and then just go from there, you'll see that there's about 10.
There's not very much Star Wars on the internet. Just Google it.
Yeah,
You'll
good
find
luck
it.
on
Yeah.
that. There's about 10 different groups trying from different angles to find the absolute best quality. So yeah, good luck to you. But when you find one
And all the
you've
power
seen
to
it-
them.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's labor of love, but I mean,
Yeah.
Star Wars has no absence of people who are willing to do this. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great that we live in an age where if we want to watch, say, a black and white movie, it's going to be just a superior quality
Right.
to what you would have seen a decade ago, 2 decades ago. Like, it's just, and it's a return to form. It's like, oh, this is what it would have looked like. Oh,
Right.
there's the black and there's the white. It's not just
Well, a
gray.
good example of what Star Wars could have had happen is the way they remastered recently the 007 films.
right.
They were able to take the original prints of the movies. Like, this is the negatives, the film that ran through the camera on the day. These are
Yeah.
what the prints are made of. They were able to scan those. They weren't all in the best condition. But they scanned them frame by frame. So this isn't like pointing it at a white sheet and just recording it. It's like they recorded each frame in 4K, and then they did color correction. They fixed scratches. They did stuff like that. They did all the colors so that it looked basically like it was made yesterday, and they're all crisp and clean. And for a fan like me, I know there's lots of other people, like it was just a treat. But in some of the extra features, they talk about this process, and what I found impressive was that now they've got these beautiful digital remasters of all of the 007 films. They can do whatever they want. They could jar the shit out of it if they wanted to. But there was one scene in particular in The Man with the Golden Gun. Very, very quick shot. He's in he's sort of having a fist fight. Roger Moore is fist fighting some guys in a back of a room somewhere. And in one scene, the stuntman accidentally bumps into a dresser that has a mirror on it, and it unintentionally flips toward the camera, and you can see that they're on a soundstage, and you can see like the director and everybody behind the camera, and they're just like, ooh. But the shot is only like a split second, but it's there. If you know it's there, it's totally there.
That's awesome.
I had never known it was there.
Well, that's-
And they said in the documentary, they were like, look, we found, there's this shot in it. It would be very simple for us to just remove that. But that is a decision for the filmmakers to make. And you can watch the Blu-ray now, and you can see what they decided to choose. And they don't tell you in the clip. So I went and watched it, and they left it in. And I thought that was really brave. It was like, nope, we made this in the 70s, and that's what happened. But in another case, there was a scene where Roger Moore is riding on a boat. It might even have been the same movie. I can't remember now. He's riding in a boat, but they used like a weird fluorescent light, and it caused like this flickering that wouldn't have really been there, but it caused this weird flickering. And they were able to fix the flickering because that's what it should have looked like.
Mhm.
That was a mistake they fixed. I think in they used their power for good in that process, other than Star Wars, which was like, let's just put a bunch of fucking puppets in there and like, you know, it was a kiss to the fans rather than like a spit in the, you know. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
I think
Rescue me.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about. I think that usually when we talk about what we owe these movies, we owe these works of art, a term comes up, and that's fidelity.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And often there's a lot of fidelities, right? So it's sort of like, oh yeah, this is in high fidelity. So this is a crisper, clearer version. You can more clearly see these things. But also you have this sort of idea of, you also have sort of a fidelity to versions that existed before, right? Sort of like, well, this is not, we could change it, but that's not it.
Right.
There is an itness to it. There's a nature to it, and to change that
Bless you.
is to do some crime, some aesthetic crime, not moral crime, but a crime nonetheless. Crime against the work. It's sort of like, well, no, we're not going to hurt this movie, and people understand that it's sort of like, oh, changing it would hurt this movie in some ways. And so, I mean, these are aesthetic crimes that are committed. Some of them are minor, like you mentioned, Nahanni never having seen E.T. In one scene, you have these government agents sort of walking, and the government agents in E.T., despite them actually kind of being good guys, the way that they're shot in the movie is they're incredibly imposing and terrifying. And it's not until an adult I realized that they're actually doing good in the movie and not doing harm, because it's shot from a kid's perspective and they're just terrifying. Right. They like guns. And Spielberg's like, you know what, let's CGI the guns out and CGI flashlights in instead. And I think that the guy, and people didn't really get upset about that. But people can get more upset about Han shooting first or Han shooting second because
Han shot first, plain and simple.
Well, obviously Han shot first, right? But I mean, but changing that, you change something. I mean, you're making an argument against the fidelity of the work. You're being like, you know what? He's just a different dude, and this is just a different movie. So we'll just change it up.
So if it's a crime, how do we punish Lucas for that crime?
Maybe the answer is everybody doesn't go. I mean, one possibility is people don't go to see episode 7, but that's not going to happen.
I was going to say, well, he doesn't own it anymore.
He doesn't own it anymore anyway. So.
Right. Another possibility is everyone steal it from the internet, but it sounds like that's already happening. So, I mean, someday there will be...
Brendan, you even went to see that bad cartoon that George Lucas made recently.
Yes, I did actually. That no one else in the...
You were alone, weren't you?
It was my wife and I, and we were alone at the theater, and the conversation all throughout... What was it called? Strange Magic?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this. Tell us about it.
Well, here's the thing. George Lucas doesn't make movies anymore, but he gets story credit. And he had this idea for a jukebox musical. So they don't sing original songs. It's not like they don't sing about making a snowman when they want to make a snowman. They sing Wild Thing when they want to make a snowman. I think it's called Strange Magic. I took Colleen there on a date. And
you didn't even take your kid?
No. Our kids were
I thought you took Meredith with you.
We were two, like... grown-ass people going to see this movie.
Were you the only people in the theater?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And the Imitation Game was playing at the same time, and Colin's like, maybe we should go see that Cumberbatch movie. I'm like, no, Colin, this is going to pay off. I just know it. That said, Colleen strongly disliked it, and I pretty much loved it. Like, I think that there's no one else in the world that likes Strange Magic but me.
So George Lucas is like winking at you.
George Lucas just made it for me. Yeah. It's a jukebox musical, and they have like... It's like, you know what songs we should put in it? A whole lot of heart. A whole lot of heart. And some Lady Gaga. And it's like, who in the world wants people in the middle of a sword fight to start singing either Heart or Lady Gaga? And it's just me. It's just me. When you Punnett squares it, when you make a sort of a Venn diagram, there's just a little sliver, and it's just me. So George Lucas, if you're listening, we do know you are listening.
Of course he's listening.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, Strange Magic, not bad.
He's an ethereal spirit.
Strange Magic, not bad. Someday, some of the versions that Derek talks about, or an officially done version is going to exist, where all this malarkey is going to be gone. And we're going to be able to watch super high def, and all the puppets will look even shittier, but there'll be no CGI in it, and people will just be able to watch it at their leisure, and that will just exist.
Right.
When that will exist, who knows? But
the year he dies. The year George Lucas dies.
They'll make it immediately. People will get to work immediately.
Yeah.
All right, he'll die. He'll turn into a Force ghost.
We're running a little short on time here, so final thoughts. I'm going to ask each of you for your one-line review of Return of the Jedi to end us off here. Nahanni, one line to your review of Return of the Jedi.
As far as I'm concerned, I've never seen it.
Very good. Wow. Brendan?
If you hate Return of the Jedi, you hate Star Wars. And that's okay. It's okay to hate Star Wars.
Derek?
Sarlacc, bitter swallow.
Heyo.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Drew?
Leia in a gold bikini.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, did we? Leia in the gold bikini. That's your review?
Right there. There you go.
All right. My review is badass lightsaber duels with spaceship battles.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What else did you want?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on Return of the Jedi? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think we're assholes? Let us know. Let us know what
George
you
Lucas
feel.
is the asshole.
George Lucas.
Is the yes.
Well, you see, the thing about the power of legend is that... Anyway. What do you think about Return of the Jedi? What do you think about George Lucas and the special editions? What do you think about all these things? Let us know. You can send us an email at info@catlikereflexes.com. But really the action is on Twitter at CRPodcast. You can find all the information about our podcast at www.catlikereflexes.com, including our fairly new Tumblr page where we're going to post links to a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the show so that you don't have to like write down web addresses while you listen or whatever. So let us know what you think, and we'll be back next week when our topic will be something else. That's my Paul F. Tompkins homage. Everybody ready? Let's wrap it up.
Catlike
Reflexes! The music at the beginning and ending of this episode of Catlike Reflexes was Funny Life by Funky Stereo. I found their music on Jamendo.com, and I recommend that you do too.